Before we dive into today's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some opportunities coming forward. I know some of our most popular videos have been us visiting different vineyards, and a lot of those have been super exciting. It's always great to connect with other people, but the biggest one that we have the most comments on is our visits that we have made to the UGA Tifton test vineyard down in Tifton, Georgia, at their campus down there. Dr. Connor has been very gracious to allow us to come down. They've tried to do that every other year, and it seems like every time we put out the video about that, they say, oh man, I really want to go to next year. The downside of that is there is no next year after that. It's every other year. So the great news is that it is going to be this year that we have this UGA Tifton meetup. And I just want to give a plug for that, so you can go ahead and mark your calendars. If you're anywhere within driving distance, I would strongly encourage you to come. It's honestly quite a drive for us to go down there, but it is well worth your time if you're interested in muscadines and just fellowshipping with other people who love muscadines as well. The event will actually be on August the 14th, and we're going to start at around 10 a.m. That's all the details I have for now. I really appreciate Dr. Connor allowing others to provide feedback in regards to what timing might work best for most people to be able to be there, because they really want a good turnout. I've also been encouraged to tell folks, hey, listen, when is that going to be? Please let me know, that kind of stuff. So this is the announcement for you to go ahead and mark your calendar. Be super excited about this event. Tell your friends, maybe even carpool down there to the UGA Tifton campus. I would encourage you, go ahead and check your favorite mapping software and see how far that's going to be, and if you maybe need to coordinate any additional things during that. There's probably going to be some other information coming out, and I'll try and keep you guys updated as much as possible. But for now, that's all I really have, and I really wanted to kind of just let y'all know in today's video, before we dive into our video about muscadines even more. So thanks again, guys. Hopefully we will see you at the Tifton campus there in Tifton, Georgia on August the 14th that morning. And I would encourage you, when you come, just be prepared. It will be very hot and very humid. Thanks so much, guys. Hopefully you enjoy today's video. Here it is.
Dean Family Acres.
Hey guys, so we're out here today because we've had several people ask us about doing a video highlighting this specific thing with muscadines. So hopefully you'll stick around and see exactly what we're going to be working on, because I think throughout this video you might be able to find out a couple useful tips in order to be able to make your muscadines expand and grow, and maybe even have more of a vineyard or do something else. So sounds like Gunner's excited about this video. Hopefully you guys are too. Let's get rolling. All right guys, so there's a couple of different things you're probably going to end up needing for this project. And we'll start off first with just peat moss. We got that in the bucket already. You got to make sure with peat moss that you do dampen it. If you don't dampen it, then basically that moisture won't get all the way through. So you want to make sure that you do dampen that, mix it in really, really well. I tend to use the glove with that. I've ended up getting poison ivy a few times. I think it might have been from the pine bark soil conditioner that I often use with this when I plant my blueberries. But I just try my best to use a glove when I can, just to prevent getting the old poison ivy on the hand. The other thing you're gonna need is some rooting hormone. This is just a generic bottle my grandma actually put together for me, and she's been gone now for, I think, about 3 years. So it's kind of special. Finally finishing this off a little bit. She kind of split some of her hormone and let me have some. So I'm gonna link several of these things down below for opportunities for you guys to be able to order. Some of them are Amazon affiliate links, and then YouTube started to make ways that you can actually click on things directly. Feel free to choose any of those. I try and match it up with the same brand most of the time. Amazon's almost always the same brand. Sometimes YouTube doesn't have that option, but I try and match it up with something pretty close. Anyway, another thing is just duct tape. You may or may not need duct tape, but it's always good to have it on hand. Zip ties. So you gotta have zip ties, as well as plastic sandwich bags. So you're gonna need those things all together, as well as you're gonna need a muscadine vine. So many of you might have guessed exactly what we're doing here, and that is we're air layering. That's right, we're gonna do some air layering today on our muscadine vine so you can see exactly how that works. This is gonna be a how-to. We've had this work a few different times, but this is really the best way to do it. I'm honestly probably just a couple weeks, maybe a month behind where I should have been, but this should still be fine. We're trying to hit it when it's hitting the growth spurt, as well as before it's just blazing hot. So I would encourage you, probably April, May-ish is probably your best time. You probably could even have done this in March if you wanted to. Having said that, don't necessarily let it be a hamper for you to not do this if it's, let's say June. If you've got an extra limb, you want to air layer it, just make it happen. Worst thing is it doesn't take. So we're gonna get in here and show you exactly how this works. We've done a couple other videos, some shorts, those kinds of things of us doing propagations with different types of plants. Did one on a camellia recently, and actually had a good friend mention, they were like, you know what? That short that you did on air layering that Miss Charleston camellia actually is exactly how a master gardener showed us how to do that in a class that we all took. So apparently that's the way to do it. Again, I always mention y'all, I'm learning too, but I try and at least give some highlights of how and what we have going on and what we're trying to do. So let's move forward with trying to air layer this hall vine first. We got a couple different places where I've kind of left it where we could air layer. And then I also have a couple supreme up on our upper vineyard that I want to do as well. So let's see how many we can get done in this in about 30 minutes or so, at least my time, because we've got somewhere to go. So we'll try and make it happen. All right guys, so first up you're gonna do, take your plastic bag, open it, and you're gonna take your peat moss. You see, this is wet. It's not like completely drenched, but it's pretty wet. And you're gonna take that and you're gonna put it in your said plastic bag. Use sandwich storage or freezer, whatever you've got is fine. I'm cheap, so pretty certain most of these are sandwich. They tend to be less expensive. You want to make this, got a little bit extra there. Pretty much want to make this bag where it's gonna lay flat about 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. And you're just gonna go ahead and zip that closed. All right, so that's my bag of peat moss. If you wanted to do this ahead of time, you most certainly could. So I'm gonna make up several of these and then I'll show you exactly what we're gonna do next for the next step of the process. All right guys, so we're working on number 3 here on the hall vine. I just got the update from one of my lovely assistants telling me we got to go somewhere in 15 minutes. So I think my time is almost up. And honestly, I feel like if I'm doing these 2 every 15 minutes ain't too bad on timing. I think a lot of this is just getting your pieces together so that you can do it. Just as a reminder, I know I'm kind of over here, this is a little bit further away, but you got to make sure that these things are scraped all the way around. If you leave something, they won't put out roots. Just make sure you got them scraped all the way. And what you do, you get that rooting hormone out, and I figured the trick when I was doing that second one, you put the cap underneath your cut, you can kind of just tap it in. This is an old bottle, so Again, I'm kind of just using the last of it. Just do that, and then I take my finger and kind of rub all the way around, especially where your scraping ends. I forget which end it is that starts rooting, if it's the bottom or the top part. You know, the upper or the lower, I guess you would call it, of where you scraped it, but just cover both of them. That's the key. Bag. When you're doing this, make sure you don't slice your hand open on the other side too. This is not a very sharp one. Need more zip ties. All right, guys, so got our vine stripped back, rooting hormone on it. Bag already cut. Remember, dampened peat moss. Make sure that's down in there really well, and just pull it around. Take your zip ties, pull it around. Hopefully I don't have too much peat again. Do the second one. If you do have too much peat, you can always take some out. You can also double up your zip ties. Again, I'm cheap. You do need to make sure that these don't dry out. That's the other part. And zip ties work well because they keep it tight. If you just use some string or something, it tends to kind of start to back out. So, all right, I'm gonna see if I can kind of lay this up in here. Also, this one will set right here. Looks like it will hold pretty well. Another vine there to hold it, and hopefully this should shade out. Get a couple other branches to kind of go over it a little bit. There we go. Shade it out. So hopefully this has been super helpful for each and every one of y'all as we've gotten these grafted on our hall vine. Since we're out of time, as I mentioned, I'll hit up the Supreme here a little bit later. I know I've had tons of people asking me about Supreme and other varieties, those kinds of things. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I am starting to kind of produce some of this stuff, but I'm not gonna do anything that's got a patent on it. So if it's got a patent on it, it's not gonna be replicated, but the ones that aren't in an active patent, I will most certainly be replicating. So we'll have multiple different varieties, hopefully have some this fall, especially next spring, but we'll have a large majority of what we're gonna have, at least for muscadines, we're gonna have that in spring of 2028. So just be on the lookout for that. We've already, if you haven't watched our other videos, we've already started grafting apples, pears, persimmons. I got some peaches. Those are the key things. We're also going to be getting into pawpaws probably in the next year or two. We've got a few, but not really enough to sell. And then we've always had blackberries for the last couple years. Sometimes we have blueberries as our start to root sucker. We'll start to add to that. And then muscadines. So we're going to have a good many fruit things that will work really, really well here in 8A, but certainly as well as probably in 8B, 7B, probably even some 7A. Outside of that, depends on where you are. But our goal is to make sure that we are producing or having things available that require minimal to no spray, preferably no spray, but some things you can't get around it if you, depending on how you want your fruit. I don't mind eating mine with some blemishes on it, but just something to think about depending on what you're talking about, especially with apples. You know, we're gonna have some no spray, but if you want them perfect, you're probably gonna have to spray them a little bit. But that's our goal. And just always remember, when you're planting something, I want to plant an apple tree. That's great, okay? What do you want to plant? If you say Red Delicious, my oh my. But think through, not necessarily what you see at the grocery store, but what does well in your neck of the woods. Because oftentimes, you just are thinking about what's going on, what you've seen, what you grew up on. That's fine, but why not find an apple that does well in your area and is very similar to the apple that you grew up on, or whatever the other fruit may be. There's tons of varieties of different types of fruit. So don't get hung up on, I'm gonna plant an apple, I'm gonna plant a pear, I'm gonna plant a peach. Think through what varieties actually do well in your area. I will promise you a quick Google search is not helpful 95% of the time. Run into that all the time when we have people that mention, I bought this, I bought that. I did a Google search, it said it would work in my zone. Yeah, it might say it'll grow in your zone, doesn't necessarily mean that it will produce in your zone or produce well. So that's our goal, is to be able to have these things available for y'all as we continue to kind of grow and work through that. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to shoot us an email. At some point in the near future, we're gonna start working on a mailing list, that kind of thing, so we'll kind of have all this in the loop. But really appreciate each and every one of y'all for following us as we've kind of continued to grow and trying to make this hobby into more than just a hobby. On YouTube, yeah, a little bit, but mainly to kind of help you guys out. And honestly, it's all about the relationships and the relationships we've been able to build. I have met one of my absolute best friends via YouTube. And I know a lot of people are like, man, that's just not possible. It's possible. And you know, we have a lot in common, and it's really, really cool to be able to talk about more than just, you know, some fruit and some homesteading and those kinds of things. You know, we're able to talk about the Bible, about Jesus, and about what he's done in our lives and what he's doing in our families' lives as well, which is also an awesome, awesome opportunity to not only have that friendship, but also to be able to grow that relationship with the Lord, so that we can share it with others. Thanks so much, guys. Really, really appreciate each and every one of y'all hanging around this long. If you're a muscadine person, that's probably why you're still here. Hopefully you gained a little bit of extra knowledge in the meantime. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed day. We'll see you next time here at Dean Family Acres.